I am Jake Broekhuizen. I'm a machine learning engineer at ServiceNow for our digital technology group.
Wonderful. And I'm Marshall Kirkpatrick. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Jake, will you talk to us about what problems confidential computing solves? Where do companies run into pitfalls and challenges that lead them to engaging in confidential computing?
Yeah, of course. So ServiceNow is a enterprise organization that has a wide range of enterprise data. The nature of it, though, and the problem for teams within ServiceNow and likely within enterprises at large is that the ability to leverage that data to build GenAI or LLM-empowered solutions is limited by the privacy restrictions that many enterprises face when trying to bring that from development to production. So ensuring that that valuable enterprise data is secure, verified, and goes through the stringent security requirements that we would need to productionize it, to leverage it in a way that would be useful.
From an engineering perspective, how does that problem space strike you?
I think that it's fascinating because as engineers, you are really inclined to build and push the boundaries of the available technology. And you realize that what you build is only as good as the data that supplies that infrastructure with a use. And so it's interesting as an engineer being limited by the privacy of that data that, isn't an area that I would necessarily focus on. I'm more focused on building the infrastructure, and being limited by that, the privacy regulations and requirements around that data as a speed bump, I guess you could say, to development is something that is interesting and proves to me the value of confidential compute because it takes away those roadblocks.
For sure. And what does that make possible from an engineering perspective, from a business perspective? What does success look like?
Yeah, sure. So the enterprise has access to all of this data, and it really is about leveraging it in a way that's useful. And what it makes possible is the treasure trove of data that they're sitting on can now translate to production-ready tools that both enterprises and customers within that enterprise can use to generate value for the company's bottom line. Specifically, for me, I'm focused in building around sales commissions and building a commissions use case that allows ServiceNow to service all of its internal sellers with a tool that answers any of the questions that they have about their personal data. And so you can see there that is an example of an enterprise having access to that data, but really the value is derived from using that in a way that provides value to those sellers. And that's what we're able to do. And that's my core focus. And that's something that I see as an immediate benefit for confidential compute solutions that enable this.
So in order to perform inference on all the sales and commission data, you need the data and the model and the inference, hopefully to all be in a secure...
Exactly. The core stages of that pipeline need to be secured in a way that meets both internal regulations and external policy regulations. So it's crucial that throughout that pipeline, that data remains protected, the integrity of it is maintained, its sovereignty is maintained, and we can ensure that that personal information from ServiceNow employees, in our case, is upheld to the highest privacy and security standards.
Wonderful. From your perspective, from an engineering perspective, where do you see confidential computing going, and where do you hope that it goes?
It's really interesting. I think that we see cloud providers as a service as something that has emerged rapidly within the past 5 years. And the notion of having confidential compute in the cloud, I think, is something that is still very frontier and still very under-recognized. And I think that some of the insights that I've taken away from today's conference is that some of these CTOs and executives of Microsoft and Juno are being approached and asked to leverage confidential compute in ways that were perhaps less recognized 2 or 3 years ago. And I think that with the proliferation of data globally, the requirement to maintain its confidentiality and security only increases as the amount of data rises and as privacy regulations become more stringent. So I think that widespread adoption of it from a cloud perspective and having companies offer confidential compute solutions baked into their cloud offerings is something that I see the industry moving in that direction, and I see it as something that will become a necessity of any software company or any company leveraging their data from a cloud perspective as time goes on.